Nick Smith makes his Arkansas Razorback regular season debut. Devo Davis is not in the gym, and the Arkansas Razorbacks defeat the Troy Trojans by a score of 74-61. This is Arkansas basketball recap. I'm Dan Price. That's Jacob Price. What an interesting game. Not just because it was closer than maybe you wanted it to be. Did look like there's a little bit of a Maui hangover, maybe a little bit, but surprise, surprise, you get no Devo. You were kind of hoping for Nick Smith. You got a little bit of that, but like not really. Right. By the way, Nick Smith, when he got out on the court and he played for like 6 minutes, the amount of pressure that dude must have felt, like when you walk over to the scorer's table and the crowd erupts, you check into the game, the crowd gives you a standing ovation, and you touch the ball and the people go bananas. I mean, dude, he's just a kid, man. Like, it's a lot, right?
Yeah, it definitely is a lot. And I mean, he's got to want to just do well for, you know, his coaching staff, himself, his family, and then to say nothing of the expectations of the state and the fans in the building. It's a lot of pressure, and I think kind of saw it on that first shot.
Yeah.
It was a little bit of an inauspicious start, but
I don't think you can read anything into it, do you?
no, no, no. I mean, it would have been cool if he had come out there and hit that first shot. I mean, it would have exploded and would have
Yeah.
been neat. And you can imagine a scenario where he makes a couple of buckets and does well and it excites everybody. But I don't think you can expect that. And so it was a little bit of a you know not I don't think disappointing is not the right
No,
word.
no.
Just uneventful. Just
Yeah.
sort of
Yep.
nothing happened. Yeah.
Yeah. So, good news is that Arkansas wins this game. This game was very close I mean, so the score looks like it was like, oh, okay. But it was way closer than that, for a majority of the game. We were trailing the majority of the game. But it turns out that Ricky Council is good at basketball, like very
Better and
good at
better every
basketball.
time.
Yeah, dude. I mean, I think we can get that out of the way. I mean, Ricky Council's player of the game, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, it just seemed like Ricky Council had a moment, and I think Musk probably created this moment for him. But it was just like, all right, guys, we gotta stop messing around. Just give me the ball, get out of the way.
Do you have the stat list in front of you?
I do.
Is it right that, because I just heard this, I think a friend and I were talking about it, and he did the team only have 4 assists?
The Arkansas Razorbacks.
Yeah.
That is correct. We had 4 assists.
Dude,
Anthony Black had 3 of them, and Brazil had 1 of them.
that is a very low number of assists to
Yeah,
win a game.
it is. Yeah, 4 assists to 15 turnovers. That's not what you want.
So, yeah, in my opinion, if you didn't watch the game, the way the game played out is Troy is a very good team.
Mm-hmm.
It's no fluke. They're going to win a lot of games, probably win their conference. They they're and their skill set is they're a pretty good 3-point shooting team. Well, they're pretty good at all dynamics. They had finishers at the rim. They made a lot of tough shots. They hit their open threes. They hit a couple of their not open threes. But their biggest weapon, what they're good at, is their defense is outstanding and in a way that's sort of unique to them. And it really bothered us. And I think it actually is reflective of those 4 assists, which is I don't know if I've ever seen a team that is as good at, and every player is doing it. It's definitely something that they're doing consciously and they're coaching, which is the guy that is off the ball, not the on the ball defender, is in the most irritating place trying to maximize the difficulty of a pass to his player. And normally the downside to that, that's what everybody's kind of trying to do, but generally not everybody can do it very well because if somebody does make a quick pass and it gets past you, which of course they're going to, you're if you're playing that passing lane, you're out of position to then guard the drive
Mhm.
or the shot, but definitely the drive because you're struggling. You're in a rush to get back in position, and then you're at their advantage of they can throw a head fake, and you're off your
Yeah,
defensive balance.
you're in bad guarding position if that pass gets through.
And they did an exquisite job of being in the passing lanes all the time and just disrupting the angles and making all of the passes long, arching passes to the farthest corner is the only thing that's open, and not getting out of position so that they were able to recover when the pass did get by them. They made it extremely difficult to make passes, and therefore what it did is you saw a lot of the guys when they picked up the ball, they were like surprised, like nobody's open and how is no
Mhm.
one open, like, and then they just had a lot of guys. There was I mean, Arkansas already has a dynamic as a team of being a little bit of a non-system team and just kind of a free flowing, and we end up with a lot of one-on-one. We've talked about that a lot. um and this team maximized that pressure toward, like, they made it where there wasn't very good options for a team that already doesn't like have a lot of screen setting and stuff like that. And it was just one-on-one basketball between a lot of our players and their defenders because they're just and it felt like they actually were trying to make us do that. They were trying to make
Well, they
us.
were playing zone, and I mean, for the most part, and they played it really well. Because zone doesn't work unless you play it really well. It's why most teams don't play it.
Or
Uh,
if you have a team that's doesn't isn't wanting to shoot if they can help it. Like,
right. Yeah.
and our, I mean,
I mean, we've said this before. It's been the case last 2 years. The zone's not a bad idea against Arkansas. I mean, I'm not trying to, say what I want teams to do. I don't want them to do that, but it's not a bad idea. Like until we shoot
mhm.
you out of it, which we may do, but we very well may not. That zone made they played a passing lane clogging zone that was pretty effective. We won that game because Ricky Council decided to just be incredible, and we that's how we won the game. We stayed in the game because of the Mitchell brothers and Kamani Johnson getting offensive rebounds. Because in a zone, it's harder it's hard to rebound in that situation because you're not you don't have a guy to block out. You're not you know what I mean you're not guarding somebody. And that we did take advantage of that. And I think that the offensive rebounding really kept us in the game until Council took over.
Yeah. I mean, and ultimately, it did feel like one of those games where the different one of the differences in the game was just we had slightly better personnel.
Mm.
You know, if they had our personnel running their system against them, you know what I mean? Like they probably would have won. Um, but we just have better bodies, and that won't always win you a game. But it was enough this time because, like I said, most of the time, if you tell me, you don't hit any threes hardly, and you have 4 assists, I'm gonna be like, well, you're gonna lose that game.
Yeah.
But we won that game through just a couple of our players were better than their players. Length, I mean, we're just bigger, stronger.
We turned him over 18 times. That helps. We won the
Mhm.
rebounding battle, 33 to 26. That helps. We had 10 offensive rebounds. That helps. So it's all that kind of stuff. And honestly, a big difference in the game is they went 4 of 8 from the free throw line, which is not a good percentage, 50%. It's also not a lot of free throws.
Mhm.
Well, we went for a change. She actually shot 73%, 74%, 73.9%, and we made 17 to 23. That's a huge difference in the game. They shot 8 free throws. We shot 23 of them. Now, that is going to happen because Arkansas is just going to try to go to the bucket a whole lot. But a lot of those fouls were also offensive rebounds, trying to go back up and getting fouled.
Yeah, and that's what I mean. Like personnel wise, we just had a slight advantage, which gave us a couple of extra rebounds, a couple of extra times where they weren't able, they had to foul because they just don't have a guy that can contain Ricky Council or whatever, or if he drives and kicks it to another pterodactyl looking guy running down the lane. And it was just enough that like I said, we were able to defend without fouling. They weren't able to do that as much. And we were able to get just a couple of rebounds, even though for the size differential, they did actually really, like, you could imagine that, like, just looking at the sizes of the starters and go, well, we should probably out rebound them by 10 or 15,
Mm-hmm.
probably. And they did a good job for being out of position somewhat and outsized a little bit. Um,
Yeah,
and
I mean we shot 27 to 51, which is 53%. You're gonna win a lot of games shooting 53%. Now, and a lot of those misses, I mean not a lot of them, but we were 3 of 11 from the 3-point line. That's not good. I mean that's 27%. Uh, so 8 of your misses of eight of your, you take that away and you're shooting a pretty high percentage in the paint. Most of your shots are going up inside, or Ricky Council having just a sweet freaking mid-range jump. But dude, Ricky Council has got a nasty. So Ricky Council ends up with, by the way, 27 points. He goes 12 of 18. His three of his misses were 3-pointers. You take those away, and he's if he's not shooting those, he's going 12 of 15. He was not missing a whole lot, and those weren't easy shots. I mean,
no,
he's hitting pull up jumpers. Obviously, the 1-3 was ridiculous that he did make. But even those shots he had at the rim are hard. Like he was finishing well. I mean, dude, he had 2 ridiculous dunks. But yeah, he not just made shots, but made hard shots.
yeah, if you watch the game, I mean, if you didn't watch the game, like it's not, it's 27 points, but it's even better than that, which, I mean, that's pretty good. But, there's a version of a 27-point game for a guy like Ricky Council where, half the work is being done by Anthony Black, and he's just going up there and getting spoon fed some easy buckets, so dump
Mm-hmm.
downs and layups and alley oop dunks and wide open kick out shot, jump shots. It was nothing like that. It was, like you said, when he did get a layup, even if it ended up at the very last second being not that difficult of a layup, everything preceding that was him crossing over 2 different guys, you know what I mean? And finally getting the angle and dribbling through the lane and then finally getting to the spot where he could make that shot. And most of them were him doing that and then having to finish over a third defender or shoot a fadeaway jump shot at a hard
Or
angle.
switch
He
hands in
hit an
midair.
incredibly deep 3, and the other thing is the time and place when he made shots. That 3 was huge for momentum. That dunk was huge for momentum. I mean, he had a lot of, not all scoring is the same, and he had a lot of momentum shifting or stealing momentum from them. Stopping the bleeding shots. I mean, I think the overwhelming majority of his points came in the last 10 minutes.
Yeah.
He basically was all of our productive offense, with the exception of some cleanups and free throws in the second and in the last fourth of that game.
Mm-hmm.
Um, and I mean, what did he score? 19 in the second half.
I think so. Yeah.
So, yeah, it was even better than it sounds. Like he was saving the game.
He also plays all but 1 minute.
The rotation's something interesting to talk about. I mean,
It
obviously, there's
well,
the
well, you had this weird stuff like so Devo's not there. Turns out, don't know what it is. Musselman just said that he is taking a step away from basketball for personal reasons, and that the team fully supports him. So I don't know what that means. Family thing, personal thing. I don't know. It's not It's not discipline. I think that's safe. Because it didn't seem like that's not the kind of language that he's not suspended or anything like that. Just that he was not going to be available, and they don't know when he's coming back. So something going on there. So hopefully everything works out good for Devo. They need him. I think that was pretty obvious. Like that they missed him.
Mhm.
Uh, Barry Dunning starts in his spot, plays for 1 minute. So weird.
As I'm saying, there was a lot of rotation stuff. He was sticking a lot of guys in and out of there at strange times and trying different things. And with Musselman, I'm always curious. I would love to sit down with him and actually talk very nuanced about the whole, like, when you put that guy in, what are you looking for? Why do you pull him so quick? Why do you leave him if, like, because like I said, we talked about this last game. I went back and watched the last game, and I, for the life of me, can't really figure out why he left Kamani Johnson in the whole time. If you look at when he put him in, he did okay until the last 2 minutes of that game where he was exceptional. And when you look at his stats next to the Twins, it's very similar as far as what productivity they were getting throughout the minutes that they were playing. And it's like, I don't know why he left Kamani Johnson in without taking him out an entire 14 last minutes of the game, but it worked out. And it was actually almost like he was like a genius, like having some kind of premonition about how Kamani was going to be necessary in the final seconds of that game. Whereas other times he sticks people in, and like you said, like nothing bad happens. They don't. They sometimes
Barry
they even do
Dunning
something
Jr.
good, and then they still come out. And it's like
Dunning
I would love to
starts.
know what his theory is and what he's looking at all those particular times.
Yeah, so Dunning starts. He plays 1 minute, has one turnover. That he doesn't come in again. So then Brazil comes in. Brazil only plays for 25 minutes, and that's a decent amount of minutes, but he plays for 25 minutes. Musselman did not like the way Brazil was playing for whatever reason. He alluded to that in the press conference that he thought the energy wasn't there. This results in
He
Kamani
did
Johnson.
struggle. I think it might have been the zone defense.
He had 3 points. He had 1-3. He was 1 of 5. Had no rebounds, and I know that was a thing. Muss did not like Brazil having 0 rebounds in 25 minutes of play, which fair enough.
Yeah. And if you watch the game, he just got caught in some weird spots and took some weird shots, and it just looked like he just wasn't in the zone. He was not in the flow of the game.
And Jordan Walsh, has 6 points. He only plays 20 minutes. He went 1 for 6. He was playing hard on defense and stuff. He grabbed 4 rebounds and stuff, but it wasn't a great night for him. Like he got caught in some unfortunate things that weren't his fault, and that kind of, it was just one of those things where it's like, so Jordan only plays 20. So you start being like, all right, you don't have Devo. Brazil plays 25 minutes. Walsh plays 20 minutes. Who's playing? Well, Anthony Black plays every second of this game. Plays 40 minutes. Council plays 39 minutes. Makai Mitchell plays 29 minutes. Mikhail Mitchell plays 7 minutes, and Kamani Johnson comes in and plays 32 minutes. And Kamani Johnson played great.
And there was a couple other guys he stuck in for a minute or two here or there.
Yeah, Pinion played 2 minutes. Nick Smith plays 5 minutes. That's what he had. But Kamani, he played good, man. So Kamani ends up playing more than either of the Mitchell twins. I mean, Mikhail plays, which they call him Kel, which is maybe easier. Kel Mitchell plays 7 minutes. Now, Makai Mitchell, he plays really well. I mean, Makai Mitchell has 14 points, 9 rebounds, 3 blocks. I mean, he played good.
He really did play well. I mean, he stood out, like, especially in the first half. He really helped us not get buried, because they got up by a couple of times where they made little runs, and
dude, there was a time.
There was a time in this game. 5 or 6.
There was a time in this game where you had Makai Mitchell and Kamani Johnson in there together with Brazil playing the 3 and Council playing the 2 and Black playing the 1, and it was enormous. It's an insane lineup that was out there. But he just did, once Kamani played a lot. Once Kamani went in, man, he came out here and there, but he played a lot. Kamani has 8 points. But he just had a lot of energy, man. And I think that's why he was in there. I mean, he had 8 points. He rebounded well. But he also hit his free throws. He was 6 of 8 from the free throw line. He was just getting fouled. It wasn't, he'd get a rebound, get fouled. He'd grab a loose ball, get fouled, and he made his free throws, man. And he probably has earned himself a spot, like at least something in this rotation.
Yeah, I think so. Like, yeah, his free throw shooting was impressive, and it was helpful because you could tell a couple of times. I mean, when he would get a rebound and he had a chance to put it back, and they just hacked him up.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, they definitely were trying to keep him from getting the easy putback. And I mean, he actually had a couple of chances where he could have got an and one. But like you could tell, he felt disappointed that he missed the shot because now he knows he has to go to the free throw line, and that's why they fouled him. And like, but then I mean, he stepped up big because we needed every one of those points. I mean,
Yeah.
that game was. I mean, like I said, this game we didn't pull away until the last 3 minutes.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I mean? Like that was a 2 or 3 point game the whole way,
Yeah.
really.
Anthony Black has 14 points, 8 rebounds. It's a lot of rebounds for your point guard. 3 assists, 2 steals, 1 block. He played good. I mean, Anthony Black
Mm-hmm.
played well. That's probably like a pretty standard Anthony Black stat line. You give 14 and 8. Maybe he gives you more assists than that usually if you're not playing against his own, but he seems like that kind of guy. He's going to give you 14 and 7 and 6 or something like that, and that's great.
Mm-hmm.
Because also defensively, he's a nightmare. And even though they did play well, and one of the things Musselman talked about was their best player, Muhammad, which they had Anthony on, didn't do jack.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and honestly, he did a good job as a point guard.
Because they were
I
pressuring him the whole like they were that was the first game where people, I mean, they inbounding the ball all the way into the end. They were doing this full court defense thing where, I mean, and Anthony Black just had like post this dude up kind of basically in the way back there and have and he had it. It was probably a tiring game for him. I mean, he had a guy like he was having to bring the ball down under pressure, which he did fine at, but it's still like more exhausting.
Yeah, that pressure is, I mean, it's like in a UFC fight or a boxing match when the one guy is moving forward constantly. It's like it's a pressure that just psychologically, it's not that he's necessarily landing shots all the time, but it's like him backing you down and you constantly backing up. It just that pressure makes it just is exhausting
Mm-hmm.
psychologically. It takes you out of the game. I mean, that's the whole reason they do it. It's like partially to get the turnovers, but it's just to make it very hard for you to do anything you want to do, and you can't get in. And honestly, I thought that it was really probably a good game for a young team to grow because it did seem like the first the Troy got their 6 to 8 point lead in the first half, in the first 10 minutes, and it was because it felt like they came out and our guys were like, I mean, and I'm sure you've had this before when you play like even pickup ball. Sometimes you play with a guy and you're like, oh, I didn't know it was gonna be like that. Like
Mm-hmm.
you're playing like it's the last 2 minutes of the game all game long because not every
Yeah.
team does that. Some
Mm-hmm.
teams are perfectly willing to set up in their half court defense, let you come in, and they're gonna just try to play. You play your game, we'll play our game. Other times, like I said, these guys, it was like, oh, your your defense is frenetic and intense in a way that like it feels like the last 2 minutes of the game all game long. You know what I
Yeah,
mean? And
and it was
it
physical.
takes
It
a
was
little bit to adjust to
physical.
that.
It was physical all the way back there too. I mean, if we'd be inbounding the ball under the other team's basket. That dude wasn't just like around Anthony Black. Was like chest to shoulder. Like, I mean, just and he wasn't getting steals, but he's making Anthony work. Right,
Yeah, and honestly,
just
that's why
making him burn calories to even get to catch an inbounds pass the whole game.
and bleeding the clock. It makes
Mm-hmm.
it. I mean, instead of when you get over half court and make your first pass, instead of there being 27 seconds left on the clock because you just ran right over the half court, it's now you've only got 19 seconds. You know what I
Yeah,
mean? Because it's taken you 8 seconds to get to half court, and then and now you're trying to figure out where to pass to. It's like 10 seconds bleeds off the clock, and you haven't even begun an offense, and you've been like worried about turning the ball over with every pass because not only are you having a hard time dribbling, but like it's not like you can just pick up the ball and pass it because that team was playing the passing lanes like crazy. Um, And I thought he did a good job because the one disadvantage for a guard being tall is, and I mean, I'm not a good ball handler, but I hate it when somebody super short and quick is guarding me because I mean, dude, even sometimes like is when little kids that are like a little 9-year-old that's real short and fast, you can't hardly dribble against him
Yeah.
because he's so at the ball level all the time. And those guys weren't that small, but I'm just saying like the one disadvantage to a tall point guard, if there is one, is a quicker, smaller guard can be up in the dribbling.
Mhm.
And he did a good job of not turning the ball over a lot, but for having that kind of pressure the whole
The
time.
the big advantage of being a tall point guard is doing exactly what Anthony Black did, which is shielding yourself and just being like, hey, just throw it way over here and I'll just go grab it. And
Yeah.
there's nothing this
Yeah.
guy
And
can
he
do
did do a
about
good
it.
job of turning his back to the
Mhm.
defender. Even I mean, if he had to, like post up and back him down all the way down court, that's what he would do. But
And didn't turn
yeah,
the
I mean,
ball
they
over a
did
whole
have some
bunch at all.
turnovers, but I mean, it wasn't anything too stupid. That was just a good defensive team. I mean, they said
Mhm.
they had 20, like this. I think they said they had 22 steals in the game before, which
Mhm.
is an insane amount of steals, not just turnovers,
Yeah.
but like they actually getting the ball from the passing lanes and stuff. Um, so how many turnovers did we end up with?
15, I think. Yeah. We had 15 turnovers. Yeah.
I mean, it's too many,
Yeah.
but
It's too many. Yeah. They turned it over. We forced 18. So
mhm.
um but at the end of the day, you get the win. And you got the win being extra shorthanded. No Nick Smith Jr., no Devo Davis. I mean, it's not that's a lot, and one of the things that Musselman said was that other teams that played in Maui had told him about the first game back after Maui and like how that works and like that's always a dangerous game and this is a pretty fast turnaround for most teams that went to we had the earliest one of all the teams that were there and I think he's like yeah, now I know that that's true. He's like it was definitely there's definitely a thing that with that where you were in a totally different time zone, did everything. You fly back and you gotta it takes a second, Yeah, you're coming off to break, you had Thanksgiving, all this stuff. So all of that and then also being shorthanded like we were against a team that to me looked like a pretty good basketball team. I'm like, hey, I'll take the win. You take the win there.
Oh yeah, I mean that first half, I was like concerned. I was like,
Mm-hmm.
dang, this team is legit. And
Mm-hmm.
the thing that they were, I mean, the first little bit, I was like, well, they banked in a couple of threes, like, but then they just kept making tough shots. I was
Yeah,
like,
they've
for a
been
while, you're
they
like,
made some
well,
stuff at
they're
the
not going
rim
to
that
keep
was
making
hard.
shots like that. And then after a while, I was like, I guess they are going to keep making. They made shots like that the whole game.
But some of the finishes at the rim were tough, dude. Some of them were tough shots, man. And you're just
Yeah,
like, that's not
like
bad
frustratingly tough.
defense.
Where I'm like, God dang, that's good defense.
Yeah.
Like, are they going to make everything? Well, we can't play any better defense than that.
Of course, if you're a Troy fan and then Ricky Council was doing that to you, you're like, gosh dang, dude. Like, that's
Yeah,
how you
yeah, that's
defend
true.
that.
Hmm.
Uh, all right. Well, good win. Devo, hope everything works out for you, man. And you can get back soon. Nick Smith, Devo isn't going to be back soon. Get that knee ready because someone needs to be next to Anthony Black in that guard spot. So might as
Hmm.
well be you, bro. Might as well be you. You should come on back. And I do expect that we will see more Nick Smith Jr. I mean, now that he's played, I assume we'll see him every game, and hopefully those minutes will just kind of increase game by game.
Yeah, I'm hoping he can stay healthy because I do think, unfortunately, one of the downsides of having a player that's definitely going in the NBA draft is they'll be more cautious. And by they, I mean, I just mean his family and him. And it makes sense. Like he's
Mm,
got a lot to lose. So they'll be overly cautious with any injuries that he has. So, yeah, I hope he can stay healthy. At this point now, I'm starting to be like, man, Council better not go down because it's not, he's turning into not exactly, I mean, it's not as one sided as like when we lost Note and he was, literally 60% of our offense. But you can see where Walsh, Brazil, those guys, like they need more help to score than they're not as dynamic of scorers as Council is. If we lost Council, we would become much easier to defend.
yeah, yeah.
And So and we really need him to stay healthy as well. Now, Council will become less, paramount if Nick Smith can come out and be dynamic. You know what I mean? Like, but still, we need
That'd be
to
nice.
make the run that we want to make. We need both those guys to play well.
Well, you got Council and Black and Nick Smith. If they're all healthy and they're all, I expect Anthony Black to get better and better. Nick Smith as well. Council's playing. I don't know. Maybe he's gonna get better and better. He just stay right where he's at, and it's fine. That's a pretty good three-headed monster when you got Brazil in there doing what he's doing, and Walsh and Kamani's gonna play good. And if Devo comes back, you got that experience. That makes defense real difficult. When you have all those guys out there.
Yeah, and sorry for the late getting this out late. Me and Dan both had basketball events with our daughters that made us watch that game super late, and we just decided not to podcast at midnight. Instead, just do it the next day. So this is coming out a little late, but
there you go. That's it, man. All right. Well, we will be back probably sometime on Saturday. That game is early. That might be a little bit late too. I'll be out of town, but I'm bringing my stuff with me, and we'll find a way to get it done. San Jose State on Saturday. So we'll see you guys then.
All right. See you, man.